Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's morning for me right now, but thank y'all all for being here. It's such a great bunch already. Um, my name is Jordan. I'm the events manager here, and just yeah, happy Saturday to everyone here. We're gonna start off just by saying hello to a few people in the audience, and then we'll get going with our event. So, Juke, hey, what's up? Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here today.
Hello. I'm here today because of Finessed Media. Why not? It's an amazing
Love it.
day. Yeah. Who am I? I'm a human being. I do music. I play drums. I'm a booking agent. I would say I am in the middle of big labels and then the independent scene. So bringing them together of like being the bridge of independent artists who mostly at the beginning think they want to be signed because it must be easier, they think, but don't see the bigger picture. And then I would give them kind of like the Amish type of like escape where you can try it out a bit, like being signed by a label. And then if it doesn't work out, they still have I have people they can teach them how to sign a contract, what is in the contract, what would be the perfect fit for them personally, mentally, physically, like the best contract for them in the long run. So yeah, and I organize events myself as well. So that's what I
Awesome. Great to have you
Kitty
here
cat,
too.
what's up?
And
Yeah.
I see Tavonia and Lottie in here today. Those are our two panelists. I hadn't said hi to them yet. So hi, Tavonia. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself before we actually know about you in a minute?
Sure. Well, I'm Tavonia Evans. I'm the founder of GUAPCOIN, a cryptocurrency that I created for the culture. I'm also the founder of Block for Hire, which is a job platform, actually a project platform for crypto professionals to team them up with people looking for things in the blockchain space. I'm also the founder of New, which is a metaverse that will be launching in the fourth quarter. I'm the CTO of the Black Wall Street app, which is a crypto app wallet that was launched by the actor Hill Harper. And I'm in just all around crypto space person right now. And crypto, metaverse, Web3, etc.
I love to see it. Black women in tech. That counts as tech, right? Yeah. I love to see it. And Lottie, what's up, girl? How are you?
Hi, everyone. How's it going? Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm Lottie. I'm primarily songwriter based between New York and LA, but I also work in the Web3 space, specifically with music NFTs at EQ Exchange. And we work with different levels of artists, whether legacy artists, mid-tier or emerging acts, and helping them launch their music NFTs and be able to market them to their respective fan bases.
Awesome. Great to have you. We'll hear more from her later. Just to get a few more people in. How about you, Free World Mac? What's up? How you doing? Oh, you're muted, by the way. Yeah. And we still can't hear you. Not sure if that's a me thing, but we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. What about you, Alan? Alan Avery, what's up? Hey. All right. I love the peace sign. Apollo, what's up? How's it going, dude?
Yo, it's going great. I just dropped my first music NFT yesterday.
Oh, sweet. I'll have to check it out. That's awesome.
So,
Yeah. And Miss Dawn P, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. How is everyone?
We're doing well. What do you do? What brings you here today?
I've been part of Finessed Media for a while. I usually kind of stay in the background, get a little quiet, but I love what you guys do. Always attend all your meetings and everything. I work as an entertainment business consultant and a road manager, and an advocate for arts education and music programs in schools. And that's what I do. So I'm happy to be here. Hey.
We're happy to have you here. Thank
Hi,
you.
Kat.
Free World Mag, are you good to go now? I
How
don't.
about now?
Okay,
Y'all hear
yep.
me now?
Here we go. Yeah, here we go.
I have 100 microphones and cameras, and nobody can hear me. I'm Free World Mac. My artist name is Mercury Mac. I have a lot of different names. My day job, I'm a computer science and 3D animation teacher. Also teach 2D animation and video game design. I'm working on my third album, Return of the North Shepherd Shepherd. Just dropped a couple of singles on Spotify. I'm trying to figure out engagement. I love NFTs and the metaverse and that whole situation because I've been doing 3D since I was a boy. I'm trying to figure out how to get into space. I'm on a lot of Discords. I've done like rap for like promotion for like NFT called Neighborhood Tales. Just a lot of different things. I'm trying to figure out how to get my in the space and actually make my mark. So I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. That was so cool. We're glad you're here too as well. So we're going to say hi to a couple more people and then we'll get into this. Evelyn, hi. How are you? What brings you here?
Hi, thank you for having me and for having all this. It's really cool just to see everybody and where you guys are coming from. But my name is Evelyn. I'm San Jose, California, so the Bay Area. And currently I'm an intern at an Ineffable Music Group. It's a management and label and record company. And so I'm a marketing major, communications major. My aspirations are to work in the music industry with helping artists really elevate their audience and audience engagement and just like help them get their music in front of a larger crowd. And I'm also making a digital magazine in the summer. So you guys will probably be hearing from that. So yeah, keep that in mind. That's something that I have also working on the side. And it's all about artists, it's all about music, and just elevating, the talents and the creatives that I see just in our world. So
Awesome. Such exciting stuff, Evelyn. Thank you for being here. And our last person is Tiara Sanders. I want to say hi. Hey.
Yeah, you got it right. It's Tiara Sanders. Hi.
Awesome.
I hope everyone's doing well. I've been to a lot of Finessed Media events, so I missed the past few, which was upsetting, but I'm glad I'm back. My schedule is hectic, but just to get familiar with me, I am public relations. I run my own public relations agency, so I represent music artists and small businesses that they own and all of that. So it's all about brand development and making sure they're polishing just media outreach and all that. So if there's any artist that needs some help, you feel free to reach out.
I heard it here first, folks. Reach out to her. We'd love to see it. All right, now I'm going to pass it on to our co-host for today, Kayla and Kinesia. Kayla, take it away.
All right, hi y'all. Thank y'all for being here on this lovely Saturday. My name is Kayla. I'm a community engagement coordinator at Finessed Media. You'll most likely see me on the Discord, and I'm so excited to have you guys here for this event on Web3 safety for artists. I'll switch it over to Kinesia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kinesia, and I am a brand partnerships and event coordinator here at Finessed Media. You most likely would see me on the Twitter. And like Kayla said, we're super excited to be able to discuss this topic with you all today. Because whether it's Death Row going NFT or El Salvador running a city with volcano-powered cryptocurrency, something is clear, and that is the future of NFTs are here. With all the financial talk and the advertising and the commentary, sometimes it's really hard to separate what's true versus what's not true. And to do this, we're gonna help you shine a light into that. And we have the best of the best guiding you here today. So for today's event, we're gonna have a conversation with our speakers, then we're gonna go into an audience Q&A session, and then we're gonna finish with a networking session. But before we get into that, we're gonna introduce our panelists.
So first up, we have ladidai, a multi-genre musician from Yonkers, New York, focused primarily on contemporary pop, R&B, and hip hop, whose music has caught the ears of Justin Bieber, Mary J. Blige, Drake, and so many more. She is a champion of the independent music sector, and one of her many roles is working as a social media and community manager at EQ Exchange, a NFT marketplace founded by Ashanti that empowers artists. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And then we'll also have Tavonia Evans, also from New York. New York stood up today. She is a repeat founder, a data scientist, and an entrepreneur, which is so much going on. How do you have time to do all of that? Realizing that less than 1% of venture funding goes to Black female founders, her mission is to educate minorities and women on the potential of cryptocurrency as a solution to poverty. She's been featured in Glamour Magazine, CNN, Complex TV, CNBC, Blavity, so on and so forth. And now she's joining us here at Finessed Media for the culture. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, these ladies have accolades on top of accolades. Can we get them a round of applause? So for our first question, as we've all probably seen over the course of the pandemic, there has an explosion of interest and investment in the Web3 space. However, this space has been growing since before the pandemic. What inspired both of you to get into the Web3 space? Lottie, we know that you're a songwriter and producer. Why don't you start us off?
Sure. So I had heard about crypto years ago, back when Bitcoin was a thing, but I never got involved back then because I was like, it doesn't make sense to me. And I wish I did, because it was like $40. And now it's like $40,000. So that would have been a time. But more recently, during the pandemic with Clubhouse, there was a lot of talk about Web3 and NFTs and cryptocurrency. And at that time, Bitcoin again was booming along with Ethereum and a couple other cryptocurrencies. So I was like, okay, maybe this is my chance to like get involved again. And so I bought a little bit initially like on Robinhood because I didn't know anything about exchanges or custodial wallets, anything like that. And then in terms of NFTs, I had friends who had ventured into that space using platforms like Zora, Catalog, and a couple of others related to that. And people who I knew who were like struggling traditionally as musicians, and then they were able to venture into this space and not have to do anything else for a living. And I was like, hold up, okay, something's happening here, because you're telling me what you made in a year, you made in one release in like a day? That's crazy. And granted, that doesn't happen all the time, but the fact that that was a possibility was very intriguing to me. So I said, okay, let me get tapped in. And so I just would attend like a bunch of different spaces and a bunch of Discords. I would purchase people's NFTs. I would, see what was going on with them, and just kind of a lot of trial and error. And that's a disclaimer I do want to say. Just make sure whatever money you put into this, make sure you're willing to lose it, because you never know what's going to happen. It's like investing in anything else. But it's been cool how I sort of like just trial and error my way into working with EQ, because I wasn't really that into the space prior to the pandemic.
Yeah, for sure. So that's tip number one, guys. Keep your ears to the streets, to rising trends. You never know what could happen. Tavonia, how about you? What did you see as an entrepreneur that made you go, oh, I want to be in the Web3 space?
Well, I've been through the entire evolution. I started decades ago just doing communities. And actually, a lot of people don't realize that we've had communities that have borderlined on meta type communities. There was Second Life 18 years ago, stuff like that. So I was building communities back then, and well into the tech world, of course, back then. But it wasn't until my first official startup, which was a startup I launched back in 2014, that crypto really intrigued me, because yes, I was introduced to it way back 2010 by a friend of mine, and he was like, you need to be doing this. And I was like, I don't know, right? Why do I need to be doing this? Mm-hmm. But he didn't have the understanding back then to explain it to me, to like why, he didn't have the why neither. So fast forward to 2014, I'm in my startup, Safe to Meet. We're trying to raise funding. And that's when I found out that we don't get funding. And I was like, wait, hold up. So I took a deeper look into crypto at the time and saw it as a way to create funding, and saw the future of how that was going to operate, whether through cryptocurrency and DeFi and all of that. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. We need our own chain. We need our own blockchain. We need our own crypto. And then we could create our own funding and fund our own startups. So I left Safe to Meet, which was the company, and I started GUAPCOIN. And at that time, it's always been my dream to create the mega community as well. So about 2 years ago, I launched the beginnings of New, which is a social platform. I did a beta launch, and it was last year that I teamed up with a VR XR company and to come together to build this official new metaverse, which is pretty huge as well, alongside GUAPCOIN, et cetera. So yeah, so I've been traversing through it the whole time. I've been around to see all these little legs and arms kind of sprout from blockchain. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So guys, remember, keep your ears to the streets and, follow the trends. Not follow, keep an eye on the trends and make sure you're in the know. So all of your companies, both of you, Lottie and Tavonia, both of your companies empower rising artists and creatives and industry pros. With headlines that tout millions of dollars from NFTs, what does the reality of the Web3 landscape look like for rising artists or industry pros versus, catalog, major funding artists who have a well-funded catalog and reach? Lottie, why don't you start us off?
I think the main thing that rising talent has to understand is that everything that you do is sales, and nobody wants to, and nobody likes that that's the case. But the fact of the matter is, if you're someone who's already an established artist, you can pretty much enter anything and sell it because you already have like an established name, established fan base, a reputation, and all that, and people are willing to back you. Whereas if you're a newer act, you always have to put in more work with the marketing, whether that's social media or whether that's actually paid ads or any other way to kind of get your name out there to get people to pay attention to you. So naturally, that's going to require more work on the artist. And it's funny because, there's a lot of talk about artists should do whatever they can to stay independent. And I think that's great, but also you have to understand that being an independent artist is very expensive and it's very time consuming. And if you're not willing to put in the money and the work, then maybe it is better for you to partner with a label or a publisher or some other way to get quote unquote easy funding, because in the Web3 space, like you really have to accept the role of being an entrepreneur, and whoever works with you also has to be invested in that respect, especially if they're getting any percentage of any of the NFTs that you're releasing. So it's not, well, a lot of people look at Web3 or NFTs like a way to get rich quick because they see how things like sell out really quickly, depending. And whenever you do see stuff like that, a lot of times it's because either there's like a really strong collector base in relation to that company, or because it's an act that is already really established in the Web3 space and has a bunch of people who would want to purchase whatever they're putting out. So it's not something that happens overnight, and that's true for anything. So just be willing to learn and put in the work.
Yeah, guys, independent artists, rising artists, industry pros, make sure you invest in yourself, but also do what works for you best at the time. Don't be afraid to sign to a record label. Make sure you read through the contract and make sure you know all the terms and conditions. Tavonia, how about you? You spoke a little bit about less than 1% of funding going towards Black entrepreneurs. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And then women, even less, and Black women, even less. So, and there's various reasons for it. I think that, the whole VC space, raising capital space is not something that we're too savvy on. I mean, it goes along with the world of finance, which is traditionally not something we've learned in school or learned from the communities that we come from. So this is yet a higher level of finance that we have to get a crash course on when we get involved in. So, and it's really about values, right? And that's what we're finding out about NFTs and the NFT and what the Web3 space is values. Is how you value your work, and then how your work is worth in according to how you value your work. So we're learning about values now. We're learning about money. So we're reverse engineering the process of money, and in that process, we're able to pretty much get the rewards for it. So there's a lot going on, and even within the world in the Web3 space and in the NFT space, one of the things that I find out is it breaks barriers down, so use, for instance, Nyla, for instance, with Long Neckies, who is like almost a little mentor of mine. She did an NFT of myself, but I watched her promote her NFTs and it get the attention of Paris Hilton, who then in turn used her platform to help bring more awareness to her NFTs. And I watched how amazing that barrier was broken. I mean, how many people can literally connect with Paris Hilton? But that's what happens in the NFT space. And in the Web3 space, we take on different personas. So if I could be a billionaire in the Web3 space, but in the real world, but in the Web3 space, I'm just another person, you know what I mean, here. But I do have the power to now open the door for more artists to come through as independents. So yeah, so this is I think that's what the big excitement in is. It's like a rebirth of an industry, and doors opening left and right for just average people who come into the space. So there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I heard opening doors and, possibly getting rich quick. Those are things that I'm sure a lot of people in the audience are interested in. How do you balance, that excitement of wanting to jump into an opportunity, but also recognizing what serves you and what's good for you?
Knowledge. I would suggest that you get into the technical side of things, which a lot of us do not, right? We're not involved in the technical side, and we're not involved in the regulatory side. Yes, this is a good space to take a risk. But if you want to do something long term, you have to be able to understand what the long term scope of this is. So what we're going to be looking at now is regulations getting involved in the NFT and crypto space, because anytime there's large amounts of money to exchange in hands, here are regulations coming to disrupt everything, right? So you want to make sure that you're savvy and you're aware of, what this is. You're aware of the difference between Ponzi's, or you're aware of the difference between, technological innovations, DeFi, all of that. You want to know the basis of when it comes to this information powering this stuff, because you don't want to wake up one day and your stuff is gone. You don't want to wake up one day and, there are a legal threat, you know what I mean? And even when it comes to just security in this space is horrid, So you don't want to wake up one day and your wallet is emptied out and your NFTs are missing. But all of these can be mitigated by just making yourself consciously aware and partaking in some of the knowledge that's out there, because there's a ton of knowledge out there. And yes, it can be very overwhelming because it's a lot of it. But if you follow some key people and get into some key information, then you may find what you need to know to stay in the know and to be safe in this industry.
Would you mind sharing a couple of those places to look for anyone that might be a beginner in the audience?
But yeah, absolutely. Believe it or not, when it comes from the regulatory side, well, first and foremost, Cleve Messidor, who is a colleague of mine, she heads the National Women in Blockchain and Policy, and she does a lot in DC. And she works a lot with policy, and she has a newsletter. Follow her, because she's talking about what's coming down the pipeline, right, in terms of that. But then also stay on the traditional track and follow the SEC. Follow Hester Pierce, as the commissioner, because these people, although they're involved in where the legalities of all of this is going, they really don't know as much as the average person out there. So they're not going to be talking things that are totally over your head like you may think. You'll be able to kind of understand what is being proposed in the future, because we need people to participate in that process as well, because if they're proposing something that can impact you and how you make your money, you want to participate in that. So you want to know what's coming down the pipeline, regulatory wise, legal wise, and that's on that side. Then in technology wise, just the tech, I always suggest that you join a project. Join a project that's already been functioning for 2 to 3 years, et cetera. Join a blockchain project, because you don't have to be necessarily an engineer to join, believe it or not, a blockchain project. Like, you can learn from the inside what's going on technology-wise. Join some of these new NFT protocols or these new protocols that are being initiated, because you're going to learn a lot from that side. And then you're also going to make a lot of allies, a lot of colleagues who do know and may know better than you. And you may have to pick up the phone one day or send a message to someone who knows more than you, but you've established a connection with people who are on the tech side. So these things are very important.
No, those were some great gems. Lottie, do you have any specifically for the music industry? How can artists, be aware?
Well, this is the thing. The music industry is not protocol specific. There are platforms across all protocols that are dealing with various music industry platforms. You know what I mean? So that's why I said join at a protocol level. You may want to join Cosmos, you may want to join a Polka Dot project. Because when you join from that level, you may wind up creating your own music platform, or at least contributing one to come, but that's where these things start. They start on these protocols. So you can join the GUAP community. You know what I mean? You can join all of these different communities and start participating from that side. I say there. Because there is where you give birth to these music platforms and DeFi platforms that deal with music, and NFT platforms. They started on the protocols.
Right.
So much knowledge. I'm learning, actually, hearing from you. I love all of that advice. I think, so one of the main, there's a lot of acronyms in Web3. And one of the most important ones is DYOR, which is do your own research. So it really does start with learning the landscape. Like, I think I spent maybe like 3 months just reading about it before I actually did anything in this space. I dropped a link somewhere to a thread of like resources for people who are new to Web3, music NFTs, et cetera, et cetera. So check that out. But even something as simple as like, there's a bunch of different music NFT platforms. So if you just join like all of their Discords, you at least are like in the communities and kind of have a sense of like what's going on. Like, even though I work for a music NFT company, I'm still in like the Discords of like competitors, because it's just interesting to kind of see how their community works and like what they're working on. And, at the end of the day, we all have the same common goal, which is to be able to help artists be able to fund themselves in a way that's different than what is the status quo, which is signing deals. And it's just really cool just to kind of see like how different platforms are doing different things. And a lot of the music NFT platforms are built on Ethereum. And that is great. But then there's been some that are built on Solana or Polygon, or just different types of EQ is actually built on Celo. So I think it's cool sometimes to check out platforms that are built on less popular blockchains, because people are less likely to want to get involved with those, which gives you more of an opportunity to get involved. So that's definitely something to look into. But it's funny because in Web3, a lot of the friends I have that are in this space just started out as artists, minting their NFTs and putting it on platforms, and then they network their way to be able to work with these companies, and now they also have stake in these companies. And it's very rare that an artist would have the opportunity to also be an executive and also be able to have stock options. Like, that's not something that you hear happening at any of the big labels, or even any of the other big music tech companies that are separate from Web3. So it's something to keep in mind for sure.
That is amazing. I hope everyone's taking notes. Artist that's an executive with stock options and a stake in the company. I think that's where a lot of us want to be. Also, other gem, do your own research. Make sure that you know what you're talking about for you. But for someone in the crowd that maybe has done some research, but not the best research, what is a misconception that you commonly hear in the industry? Lottie, if you want to start us off.
Misconception. I mean, there's a couple of different ones. I think probably the biggest one is that like that crypto is a scam. People have been saying that even before like they knew NFTs were a thing, because a lot of times when people don't understand the mechanics of something, especially when they see people making like huge leaps and bounds, are just like, oh, it must not be legitimate, or oh, it's a Ponzi, or this, that, and the other thing. And I think, you know, there's nothing necessarily wrong with having like healthy skepticism, but again, that just comes down to you didn't actually look into it. Or sometimes people are quote unquote rugged, which is when you get involved with like projects that are actually illegitimate and then bad things happen. So I understand the skepticism, because right now with the way anything decentralized operates, there's no authority, right? So if you lose your money in a crypto scam, you can't run to Uncle Sam or whoever else and have it taken care of. There's really not very much regulation. And like Tavonia was saying, it's probably coming, excuse me, in the coming, you know, years. But right now it's like, it's sort of like free game. So people who really do understand the tech obviously can use it maliciously in ways that they can create situations where they can get what they want. And sometimes they get a lot of money out of it and they jet. So it's just important to just be careful, right? Like if you go on Binance and you see all types of different coins, make sure that you know that the coin that you're investing in is actually legitimate, which is why I prefer Coinbase, because you'll never catch a shady coin on Coinbase. If you're going to be involved with any projects, and you're joining their Discord, just close your DMs, because you don't want to worry about anyone being like, hey, if you click this, you can enter this drawing, and then they like steal your wallet info and then hack all your stuff. So like it's a lot of what's happening obviously in the Web3 space is legitimate, but there are a lot of bad actors because it's still early. And again, there aren't a lot of regulatory bodies to like crack down on things. So that puts a lot of the onus on you to ensure that whatever you're involving yourself with, you're able to protect yourself as much as possible. And again, there's a lot of different precautions, and I could drop a thread in there as well for safety in terms of different things. But number one thing, sorry, I'm kind of veering away from the question, is don't give anyone your seed phrase. You'll have like there are a lot of different ways that people try to get it out of you. Don't give it to anyone, because once they have that, they can access your wallet and then take all your NFTs and your crypto. So that's something to keep in mind, but also don't lose that either, because if you lose it, you can't call Coinbase, you can't call Trust Wallet or whoever else, be like, hey, like I can't get in. No one can help you. So again, that's something that's scary to some people, because they're like, oh, if something happens to my account at Chase, I can just call Chase and they can shut it down, and they can open a new one, and they can do whatever. There's no overarching financial institution or legal institution that exists currently in crypto to help you with that. So if that's something that scares you, then do your research and move accordingly. And again, never invest more than you're willing to lose, because that's what really gets people caught up too.
Yes. Yeah,
Well,
definitely a
definitely.
major. Oh, go ahead, Tavonia.
I definitely like to add that. I mean, there are a lot of misconceptions in this space, and the reason being is because it's largely unregulated. And you got to understand that people can tell you anything, even the people who you may consider to be legitimate, they still can project things. So first of all, don't just believe that someone is just an overnight out of nowhere popped up and made a ton of money in NFTs or in the crypto space. No, that could be a misconception. I've seen people, they look at, so wow, they had this NFT that sold for how many millions of dollars, and still this person has been involved for quite a while, number one. And number two, you got to know the politics of what takes place behind the scenes when it comes to crypto. And that is the whole world of whales and how that works. There's a lot of big deals and shady deals that happen behind the scenes in the crypto world. So don't just assume that if your NFT or your project doesn't sell for a lot of money, that it just wasn't the lucky or whatever the case may be. No, there's an orchestrated world here. There's a manipulated world behind here. So please be aware of that. Don't let that kind of knock you down off of whatever it is you're trying to put out there, because there's a lot more that happens than you know. But if you get involved in the back end, then you'll know. If you get involved with these protocols and projects, you'll know more than just the average person coming off the street. I beg to differ a little bit with the Coinbase's legitimate stuff or post legitimate stuff, not necessarily. When you have Coinbase posting meme coins and listing meme coins as well, they really don't care. It's about the money. It's about the trading volume that they're going to get and the huge number of people who are going to come on their platform 9 times out of 10, more than anything. And then when something gets into trouble, then they play cleanup after the fact, and they have plenty of money to do so. So, so don't, necessarily, I would say, yeah, you don't want to veer off into some of these, DEXs or, exchanges, the shady exchanges and stuff like that. You definitely want to stay away from these places. And you don't want to just connect your wallet to anything that says, hey, you can connect your wallet to this Web3. A lot of times when you land on a new Web3 website, it's going to automatically try to connect to your MetaMask. Don't click that button. Let me just let you know that right now. Don't click those buttons. It's better to say no, shut it down, than to say yes, and the next thing you know, you can't find stuff in your wallet. So, be very conscious and aware of that. So there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to that. I think the biggest misconception here is a lot of people get fished here and they look at something and they think it's the official project. And, you can see that right now with what's going on with Bored Apes and Apes Club. Now they have the ape everything, and that's what they do. So sometimes you can click on a Twitter account and think that it's a valid Twitter account, and it's not, and it's going to lead you down a rabbit hole of suspect websites and stuff like that are designed to take your crypto or your NFTs or your money. So again, misconceptions, this is a space that you have to really read and pay attention. And my biggest advice is you probably just want to say no as often as you can before you even say a yes. You want to say, no, I'm not going to get involved in that. No, I'm not going to do this, because there are that many scams out there to get you. So, so definitely, there are a lot of misconceptions in terms of, just this overnight sensation of I can get rich. And if you go into it, that get rich mentality anyway, I find that you're 9 times out of 10 more likely to get scammed than anybody else. So remember that, you know what I mean? Remember that if that's the mentality that you approach this space with, you're opening yourself up to more scams than you even know.
Yeah, guys, everyone, I hope you jot that down. Make sure you do your research. Not everything is a scam, but since this is unregulated space, make sure you do your research. Make sure you stay safe on the internet and Web3. So you guys have both talked about, there have been scams, phishing. A lot of you brought up rug pulling. So have there been any efforts in the Web3 space to, increase education about the pitfalls of Web3 and increase inclusion of marginalized groups and minorities, where, white wealthy men can, be the majority in this space? Tavonia, why don't you start us off?
I want to say this about rug pulling. Rug pulling is a very misunderstood event, because what you have is sometimes you have projects that fail, right? And they don't have to fail permanently, because that's what a community is about. If they are at risk of failing, the community is supposed to kick in and support them so they can keep this project going along. But sometimes you get communities that don't kick in, that they're sitting there waiting with their hand out for the next direction or where to go with this, and they're not really coming from a community perspective. So in that case, the team fails, the project fails, and they have no choice but to just close up shop, because a lot of them are paying for these things. So everything is not a rug pull, even though it may look like that. A rug pull is going to be clear in terms of all of a sudden, everything just disappears off the internet. You know what I mean? So, you know, the website, the this, the that, then you got a clear version of a rug pull. But if you have a project that's been operating for some time already, and you know, and they've been communicating and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden there's a need to shut down, or they find a need to shut down, sometimes it's just because they were not supported adequately. So you as a community member should do what you can to make sure that you're supporting the project that you believe in and that you're invested in. If you're invested in this, that's what decentralization is. This is much your project as it is someone else. Guess what? You could pick it up and take it from there. And that's been done in the past with other crypto projects.
Yeah, Lottie, do you have anything to add?
Yes. So you had mentioned something about basically, as is pretty much anything with finance and tech, it's very, the Web3 space is very white male dominated, wealthy white male dominated. So a lot of people who are already successful in tech, whether it's like a FANG company or in finance, like in investment banking, just transitioned into Web3 and brought their whole networks with them. So naturally, as they are on top of the world in every other respect, it's also the same here. However, the Web3 space for the most part is big on financial inclusion and creating opportunities more for people of color, for women, and from people from environments where financial literacy might not necessarily be taught. And that's something that's actually really big at EQ. Even before we had our beta project, version of our project launch, we were still big on just like educating people and making sure that people have like an understanding of the basics. And I think that if you enter any community at any point in time and you notice that they don't necessarily care to educate new people, then you might not want to stay involved, because then it's very obvious that they care more so about like profit or finding investors or, you know, ending up in Forbes or whatever else than that. Because at the end of the day, people enter projects at every level and people enter the Web3 space at every level. And in my opinion, there should be a lot more focus on bridging the gap between Web 2 and Web 3. And so Web 2 is the regular world, and Web 3 is what we're heading into. And a lot of people are obviously very unfamiliar with the Web 3 landscape. And if there isn't enough being done to encourage and educate people coming into the space, and to me, that's a bit problematic. And so I'm really a big fan of projects that, for instance, do like airdrops people to who attend their events. So like, let's say you go to an event and then they teach you how to set up a wallet, and then they do what they call an airdrop, which is where they send you like a free NFT or free crypto. I love stuff like that because that's encouraging for people who have no experience or don't know what they're doing, because then you have something of value that you didn't necessarily have to invest in, but because you showed up, you got something. Or, you know, like I love the platforms that have like their weekly, which we do at EQ, or bi-weekly Twitter spaces where you can go and ask questions and things like that. It's really important to be welcoming to people who aren't already in the space. And there are communities that do it, but there aren't enough. And a lot of the more popular projects, which a lot of you have heard of, they don't care about bringing anyone else in, right? It's like if you hadn't like quote unquote aped in early, then it's just not happening for you. And then you think, oh, I can't enter Web3 because I don't have $500,000 for a profile picture. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Thank you guys. You guys dropped so many gems. If you could leave this audience with one resource, your one holy grail about Web3, you know, educational resource about Web3, which one would you suggest for our audience so they can start learning, get into the space?
See, I'm probably the wrong one to do that because I come more from the technical aspect of it. So I'm telling you to get the technical education. So if you got a minimum go to do Udemy, or whatever, or the crypto consortium, or, you know, all of these different things where you actually get this blockchain education or NFT education, I would suggest that you at minimum get some of these minor courses. But the best education you can get is joining a project. Trust me when I tell you that. So if you're going to join, and joining a new project, even better. So you can go to Cosmos, which is like an interoperability of ecosystems. They have new projects launching every week, you know, so you can go and you can find a project there, and you can learn from the ground up how these things are built and what it takes. I would suggest you do that versus, and alongside going to different places like Binance Academy has an awesome resource of articles as well, by the way. academy.binance.org, I have to give it to them. Their articles are very, very, very good on everything from DeFi to NFTs and stuff like that. That's why I send people, you know, to go get that basic kind of knowledge on all of those things. And then of course there's YouTube. One great project that I like is Morales. Morales is a whole like ecosystem. They give you the tools to build NFT marketplaces, to build metaverses, all of this other stuff. So I think they're very great as well. So if you're looking to build your own play to earn game, NFT, music, NFT platform and stuff like that, Morales is great actually. And I'll drop that link in there as well. I think that's super resources like that enable you to build these things. Those are great places for you to learn, because they usually not only give you the tools, but they're also going to give you the tutorials on how to use the tools to build certain things. And although some things might look rudimentary initially, these are the building blocks to building something greater. So start by learning these rudimentary platforms and how to build a basic whatever, so that you can expand upon that later on.
Right. All of this, I hope y'all heard all those resources. I hope you heard all of the terms that you're going to look up to do your own research. I mean, as industry professionals, rising industry professionals, artists, one of the major things, something Alexi always says, is that the most important thing in this industry is people and money. And when we're talking about a whole new form of money, how to get into this space, how to learn how to make money using this new money, I hope that you're paying attention, because it's gonna go somewhere. So now that we've gotten all of those amazing gems, we hope that you wrote them down. We're gonna head into our networking session. So we're going to put you in some breakout rooms where you can get to know each other, connect with our community, connect with our panelists, and use this community for what it is. Community is how we're gonna grow together. So let's meet somebody in the sheet. And yes, also please fill out the contact sheet so you can connect with whoever you might not connect with in a breakout room.
Awesome.
I'm here. Thank you, KitKat. We hope that you guys made some genuine connections in your breakout room, because that is what Finesse community is all about. Can I get a woo woo for today's panel? And just for everyone's attention, Itzel dropped the contact sheet in the chat, so please check that out. I want to say a massive thank you to our amazing panelists. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you so much, because you help us bring this information to our community. Our next upcoming events for our next couple of Saturdays are accessibility in the music industry, live events and touring, and beat making 101. And I will send it back to Jordan and KitKat if you have anything to add.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kinesia and Kayla. Can we get also a round of applause for them? A big woot woot, especially Kayla. It's her first event. Killed it. Y'all both killed it. And also just thank you to our panelists, Lottie and Tavonia. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your information with us. We really appreciate y'all. And we will see everyone next week. We will. All right. See you guys. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Thank you. Thank you.